done told y'all before it was supposed to the bowl. Nothing but the repeat with wins back on the throne. All we do is set trends, so you know what we on. Yep, I'm back with the remix, it's 4th and JAWN. All birds, all Philly, midnight green. Things changing for the better since we got that ring. Put the league on notice, we're not done. 2019, we adding another one. Yeah, you heard me right on every Tuesday night. 8 to 10 birds of a feather got that flight. Nothing but the hot takes. Back with the big facts for the fans, by the fans. Exactly where we at. Pull up to the tailgate, stop by F1. Baptized by the Pope, been bass for everyone. Flying in from the West Coast, even overseas. Get blessed by Ginger Jesus, we disciples of the tree. E-A-G, wait, C-H-M-P. S, don't stress, we on the same conquest. Dominate the division, destroy the NFC, conquer the AFC. Grab that Vince Lombardi, Wentz to AJ, climb it up the gut. Be grand with the strip sack, this sound familiar, huh? Aguilar on the slot, Sproles with the return, Mills with the pick six. Okay, wait, it gets worse. J Train on the run, J.E. hitting from 60. Fletcher C in that D-line, that's what you don't want to see. Ertz catching tubs, foes on another level. The Super Bowl ain't the only time you see that Philly special. We live from Broad Street, brotherly loves the heartbeat. Hungry dogs run faster and we don't eat cheap. No one likes us and we don't care, cause we from Philly and we ain't never scared. Look up.
But I just gotta know one thing. Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
What's up, Philadelphia? We are live broadcasting from Wildfire Sports Studios. Welcome to the 4th and JAWN Show, episode 64. Boys and girls, allow me to just hop up on my soapbox real quick. And I know what you're thinking, oh God, here he goes again preaching. But just indulge me for a second, because I have a quick question to ask to the NFL. Why? Why are we having this helmet rule jammed down our throats? Now, before you jump on my case and call me a Neanderthal, say I'm only interested in the violence of the National Football League, let me make a couple points before I set up my point on the entire thing. First of all, there has been a focus on the overall player safety, not only on the field itself, but off of the field. The quality of life of these players once they are done with the game or the game is done with them, that is paramount, justified, and really long overdue. I also know that there have been rule changes in the past in the National Football League that have left fans angry, and the NFL has survived it all. It wasn't too long ago when the NFL announced that you can no longer touch a receiver 5 yards down the field. And NFL fans said, how are they supposed to play defense anymore? Look at these guys. They're ruining the game of football. Rabble, 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 rabble. And it wasn't too long ago when the NFL made another rule, the Tom Brady rule, where you're not allowed to go at the knees of a quarterback when making a sack. Oh, and by the way, you're not allowed to hit a quarterback on the helmet. And they said, look at what they're doing to the game. Put skirts on these quarterbacks. They're ruining the game. Rabble, 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 rabble. And the NFL survived that as well. There is no doubt in my mind that this new helmet rule, or lowering the helmet rule, the NFL, they're going to survive it. And I applaud them for walking the tight yet very difficult rope between player safety and spoiling the product that's on the field, the game that we all know and love, the game of professional football. But nobody asked for this. The fans didn't ask for this. They don't like it. The players don't like it. The players didn't ask for it. And therefore, the coaching staff, they absolutely hate it. Because now they got to re-coach up their players on how to do and tackle, because what was a normal, simple, benign football play in 2007 isn't the same thing in 2008. I know there's been rule changes in the past, and we've bitched and moaned, just like we bitch and moan about this one. But where I'm coming from is, what's next? If you think this is the last rule change as far as the NFL is concerned on player safety or changing the game, you're wrong. Take a look at the 10-year history of the NFL and what they've been doing over the last decade as far as tinkering with the rules, playing with the rules, adapting the rules towards this form of football right here. My concern is that 10 years from this point, we're going to look back and we're not going to recognize it. And you can say, EROCK, you're overreacting. Don't worry about it. The players are going to adjust. It's no big deal. Bullshit. Bullshit. We just got done celebrating the Hall of Fame induction of one Brian Dawkins, a man who was credited with revolutionizing the way the safety position is played in the NFL. A guy who paved the way for Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed to play their own form of safety in the NFL. Brian Dawkins' brand of football can't be played in quote-unquote today's NFL. Just can't happen. Keep in mind, this guy retired in 2011. We're talking about 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Brian Dawkins wouldn't be able to be Brian Dawkins in 2018. Oh, that Algie Crumpler hit that we always talk about, look back, reflect upon, and smile about. That's a flag. Oh, that hit on Michael Vick as he went into the end zone against the Atlanta Falcons that we all talk about, all remember fondly. That's a flag. That moment that he leaped towards the sideline, cartoon character style. Who knows? He left his feet. He led with his helmet. That would probably be a flag. Brian Dawkins couldn't Brian Dawkins in 2018, and there's a guy that retired in 2011. I don't know what the league's going to look like in 10 years. And meanwhile, they're baby feeding us all these little rule changes. And we bitch and we moan and we accept them and we move on, and then they come up with another one. And we bitch and moan and accept them and move on, and then they come up with another one. The league's got to figure out what they want to look like in 10 years, because the moves that they're making right now, the way I see it, contradictory. They tell you, okay, we're going to move up the kickoff. Listen, there's a lot of concussions that are happening during kickoffs, right? Guys are slamming into each other. This is unacceptable. We got to be concerned about player safety. So what are we going to do? We're going to move up the kickoff, right? So that there's less chance of a return, more touchbacks, safer players. All right, Raj, that sounds good. Sounds adequate. I'm down with it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to prevent the players from having a running start to get down the field to increase the chance of a return. Wait, what? So you just told us that you're trying to decrease the amount of returns, and now you're putting players in position to increase the amount of returns. The systematic disassembling of the NFL kickoff is happening before our eyes. It's the worst kept secret in the NFL. The Green Bay Packers front office stood in front of everybody in owners' meetings and said, we need to eliminate the kickoff sooner rather than later. This needs to go. What? The kickoff needs to go? This is something that is going to change. This change is inevitable. They are systematically taking away the kickoff. What else are they systematically taking away? Bit by bit, little by little, letting time heal those wounds and then taking something else away. I understand player safety. I understand that we need to be concerned about the players. Like I just mentioned, Brian Dawkins. I would hate to see a Brian Dawkins at 60 years old struggling to remember things because he's got some sort of form of CTE. But don't feed me this bullshit that this is for player safety. It's not for player safety. It's not for player safety. If the league was genuinely concerned about their players, the retired players, and the quality of life off the field, that concussion case that they settled, where there is millions of dollars sitting, accruing interest in a fund for players that have disabilities from directly playing football and living the rest of their lives, less than 20% of those players are actually getting approved for those funds. There's players out there with Alzheimer's. There's players out there with all sorts of mental disorders. There's players out there in wheelchairs. They're getting denied those funds. So don't tell me this is about player safety. Part of me almost thinks this is like a car recall. Because there's some bean counter in the back calculating, okay, how much is it going to cost us to call back all these cars and fix them? Versus the amount of money that is going to cost us to settle these lawsuits if somebody gets seriously injured. That's what I almost feel like this feels like. Like, how much is taking this part of the game going to affect our ratings and our bottom line versus how much is this going to cost us in concussion protocol? And lastly, I'll finish on this. I don't want to sound like some NFL conspiracy Illuminati theorist, but I'm a doomsday prepper when it comes to the CBA coming up at the end of the 2020 season. You think this is bad? You think this is bad? You wait until they got to renegotiate that CBA. You are seeing a tiny glimpse of what is going to happen to the league when Roger Goodell and Smith got to sit there and bang their heads together because they hate each other. You wait to see what the NFL looks like after the 2020 season, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. I understand why rules to this point have been put into place, but you change the overall game, you are doing a disservice to the fans who support and love this league. I feel a little taken advantage of. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, because the NFL is looking at diehards like us, people who are absolutely in love with the game, backstroking, swimming in it, eyes deep in it, and know that we're not going anywhere. We'll watch it. They could put Macy's mannequins as the defensive line. We're still going to watch football. But when do we draw the line in the sand and say, you are now messing with the game that we love? Mr. Gale Saunders, Eagle Sessions on Twitter. I told you before, we have pre-show discussions all the time. You and I barely spoke today because I told you that this helmet rule, lowering the helmet, was going to be a big topic of conversation. I don't know where you stand on it. You just heard me ramble on for like 13 minutes on this friggin' thing. The mic is yours, my friend.
Man, listen. Welcome to the National Bitch-Assness League, folks.
Oh.
I mean, on March 28th, I tweeted out, "Nice knowing you, old NFL. Glad my Eagles won a Super Bowl, and I got to see Malcolm Jenkins make a game-changing hit on the biggest stage of football. Just what the NFL needs, more BS flags and player ejections." Now we're here, August 21st, and my worst nightmares have become a reality. And like you were talking about the conspiracy stuff, like back in the day when I first started writing about the NFL, I was, looking into the concussions.
Yes.
Before anyone was looking into the concussions, I was like, the NFL is lying to the fucking Congress about the results from these concussions. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about this?
You were talking about this years ago.
And for it to like finally, you think the NFL cares about player safety? I mean, you look at the situation with Ryan Shazier. That was the worst case for the NFL, for a player to almost be paralyzed.
Yes.
On the national stage, and parents are looking at and seeing like, should my kid play football? People are questioning now, should my kid play football? I mean, I think, we just got over the idea of what is a catch. You look back at what is a catch, I'll take that versus a what is a helmet penalty? And you talk about Frank Reich just recently said, he said, what they're going to do is they're going to officiate this, over-officiate this. We're going to call this penalty heavy in the preseason games. And I get it, you're going to over-officiate it, but what's happening are the players are confused. If you have players out there confused in a split second trying to make decisions, that this game is a violent game. There's no way in the world. I mean, if I see people out there making comments, and I can tell you don't play football or never even stepped on a field, how are you supposed to not lower your head tackling somebody coming from an angle? If you guys look at the Rodney McLeod hit, what was he supposed to do with his head? If he's going to make a business decision, is he going to let him go out of bounds? Is he going to try and push him? I mean, is this where we are at with the NFL? I mean, if you look at the Dallas Guard, we don't want to see the Patriots not get penalized, but I can't watch a game where the integrity of the game is now in question. think about all these opportunities where the refs now have another opportunity to take control of the game. Imagine being in the playoffs. And this kind of play will decide your franchise ability to get into the Super Bowl. I mean, it's crazy, man. I mean, you see all these ex-NFL players online going apeshit. Like, I haven't been this angry. And everyone who knows me knows I'm an NFL head. I don't think I could put my 100% full heart into something that I didn't believe in. And watching that it's depressing, dude. It is depressing. And I think the NFL has to. Tomorrow they're having a meeting. This was planned beforehand, but it's gonna definitely be number one on their topic chart because they got to do something. Because ratings are in question if it's gonna be like this.
And I'm glad you brought up the Ryan Shazier injury. Not glad that it happened. That was disturbing to watch.
Yeah.
When it initially happened. But just so I could make sure that I was getting my facts straight, I went back and I watched that hit. Real time, slow-mo, real time, slow-mo, real time, slow-mo, just to make sure I had a pretty good full understanding of what happened. And yes, Ryan Shazier, at the last minute, lowered his helmet.
Right.
He took his eye off the target. This is true. This is fact. You can see it if you rewatch it. But there are two other factors that have to do with Ryan Shazier's injury. Number one, he missed. The tight end is coming over the middle, moving from Ryan Shazier's left to his right, and as he catches the ball and turns, Ryan Shazier anticipates him to continue running. And what happens is the tight end kind of crunches down, anticipates the hit, and what was targeted as a shoulder hit ended up being with the crown of his helmet. Ryan Shazier missed. That was an accident. The second thing that has more of a determination in the fact that he got injured than the fact that he lowered his helmet is that it was a freak injury. These things are going to happen. It's unfortunate. Nobody likes it. We all watched that live and felt horrible seeing Ryan Shazier lay there on the ground holding his back and not being able to move his legs. That was disturbing to watch. But it's a free, no matter what penalties, what rules you implement into place, freak accidents, it's a violent game by nature. Mm-hmm. They're going to continue to happen whether you throw this flag or not. What was so bad about the NFL in 2017? What makes the NFL so dangerous in 2017 that we need to implement a rule like this in 2018? To speak to your point, Gail, I was thinking on the What Drive Down. Little conspiracy theorist, right? Little NFL Illuminati thing. What's worst case scenario?
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is after the CBA comes out that the NFL implements and bargains with the players' union all sorts of different rules. That I now come to the, supposing there is a 2021 season, right? Mm-hmm. Is it after the 2020 season?
I'm not exactly sure.
All right, so I come, hoping there's not a lockout. I come back to the game of football, and it's not the way I left it.
Yeah.
And I love the Eagles. I was born an Eagles fan.
In a manger.
Born in a manger in a tailgate somewhere. I bleed green. I love this team, but I also love the game. How am I supposed to continue to love my team the way I do when I don't love the game that they play? It's easy to fall in love. It's hard to get when you fall out of love, and this is going to happen to some fans. When you fall out of love, anybody who has ever been in a relationship will tell you there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, one other point. If the NFL really cares about player safety, why in the hell are we playing 4 preseason games?
Yes.
Why the fuck are we playing on Thursday night football? You think an average football player, let alone high school to college, is okay? Is okay? You know, playing a game on Sunday and then have to go and play a game on Thursday? You think he's healed by then? You think players that are, you know, these players, we see them play every day and think, okay, they're playing for the team. They have families that care about them and are waiting for them to make money. So there's a lot on the line for these players that they don't give a damn if they're hurt. They got a whole family to feed. They have people relying on them. You think they're not going to play so someone else can take their spot to get that contract? No, these players are going out there playing hurt. And NFL knows that. NFL knows that these players are going out there playing hurt. So I don't care. Like, you could say this player safety shit is BS, bro.
And then you're trying to implement or trying to negotiate or suggest or bring up at some meeting, hey, let's add 2 more games, and then claim you're concerned about player safety. You are contradicting yourself left and right. Justin.
Just going back to what you said about what could have happened in 2017 and forced the 2018 rule change, after the Ryan Shazier hit, and it was before this, but I think that really pushed it to another level. I think that the front office of the league is terrified that a player is going to die on the field on national TV.
Has it happened since they invented the forward pass?
No.
No.
But I think that as injuries get worse, and the Shazier injury put it front and center, I think that they're so terrified of 5, 10, $50 million people seeing somebody potentially get killed on live TV.
And to touch on what you were saying about Ryan Shazier, that being a freak injury, like, yeah, no one has died on a field on the NFL yet, but, you know, freak injuries do happen, just to touch on what he's saying.
I mean, Darryl Stingley, he was a guy that had a spinal cord injury back in a long time ago, and that was on the field.
Yeah.
You know, but that's back in the day. But
right.
With this day and age, you see Ryan Shazier, you see that play over and over. It's on every single form of media. It just put the league on blast. So
I don't understand how the league can contradict themselves and say, hey, guys, you know that catch rule? Yeah, Raj, we know the catch rule. Hey, you know how you can't stand it? Hate the catch rule, Raj. Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna loosen up the rules on the catch rule, right? We're gonna loosen it up so there's more catches, there's more first downs, there's more touchdowns. Because what does that equate? That equates money.
And ratings.
Hey guys, you remember that no celebrating in the end zone rule? Yeah, Raj, the no fun league, right? Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna take away that. Really? Yeah, you go nuts, go nuts. Antonio Brown. Hey, listen, don't twerk in the end zone, but feel free to have as much fun as you want. You know why? Because celebrations equal ratings, and ratings equal money. But you know what else we're going to do, right, guys? Oh, I can't wait for you to tell us what you're going to do next, Raj. We're going to throw more flags. Yeah. Wait, what? More flags? Yeah, we're going to throw it. That hit the Viking sack on the quarterback. The fuck.
It took 24 minutes to come up. I was waiting for it.
Yeah. Like, that's a normal football play. And you can pound the table and say, this is player safety, this is where the league needs to be, this is what the league needs to be doing. Wait till it bones one of your teams into losing a game. Wait until your team on 3rd and 10 stops the guy, but then gets called for throwing a 15-yard automatic first down penalty to keep the drive alive, and Eli Manning marches down the field and scores a touchdown, and the Eagles lose the game because of some bogus fucking injury or flag that's meant to prevent injury, which isn't preventing Ugats.
I mean, even in the Falcons game, if you think about what was, I believe it was Rodney McLeod who hit somebody. And they called a flag, and they brought him closer. I mean, that was in the playoffs. I mean, these bad calls happen. And I remember that call was called, and I was like, dude, that's not a flag.
Imagine that Viking sack that happened to the quarterback happening in the freaking Super Bowl, and that's a 15-yard penalty, and they get automatic first down. And that in the Super Bowl, a tackle like that in the Super Bowl.
I'm going to put my weight. Put my weight on you. Like, now putting my weight on you after is a freaking
This is football.
That's a completely separate thing from the helmet rule, which is like that's the one that I have an even harder time grasping, is the body weight rule, where you can't, like, that was what the whole call was in the Vikings game, where he didn't lead with the crown of his head, and he was pretty much making eye contact when the tackle happened, but it was considered that he brought his body weight down on the quarterback who still had the ball in his hands, which any other year is a sack.
Yeah. I mean,
but now it's rough in the pass.
I mean, imagine Malcolm Jenkins being suspended after knocking the shit out of Brandon Cooks. Imagine him being suspended. Imagine what that would have done and affected the way the Eagles defended Tom Brady.
The players can't like this.
Come on, Tom.
More flags equals more fines. More fines equals more money in the pockets of the NFL. The owners. They're sure as shit. Listen, if you're that concerned about player safety, God bless you. You should be. If you're more concerned about the quality of life once the game is done with the player or the player's done with the game, more power to you. Offer fucking health insurance if you're in vetted for 4 years. If you're in the league 4 years, health insurance.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, if you have some long-term disability, put a fund aside and give it to the players that are actually applying for this stuff instead of denying them. I am sick and tired of the league trying to cram down my throat that this is a rule or a change made in the interest of player safety. Bullshit. Stop feeding me this bullshit.
I'm going to share something with you that I found online today, and it is a report from Nielsen. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this or not, but in 2017, the NFL alone accounted for 71 of the year's 100 most watched telecasts. That's out of anything that was put on television in America. 71 of them were NFL games. Within the top 100.
That's crazy.
So I'm just saying that as much as we're bitching and moaning right now, it's pretty obvious the ratings are still right there. So
they are declining, though.
71 out of 100 for the year.
I understand. They're still making money hand over fist. The predominance of the NFL happened in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. That's what brought the National Football League to #1, the biggest sport in America. And now they're facing some declining declining ratings, and they want to blame it on anthem protests. Nah, bruh.
Nah. I mean, all of television. I mean, I work in television.
Yep.
All of television is declining. It doesn't matter what it is. Everybody's eyeballs are everywhere else on their phone. It's a whole different beast. So I don't believe the NFL ratings is dipping because of anthem protests, which aren't protests against the anthem. It's actually against other things. Injustices.